The coffee machine at Pemberton Associates had been broken for 3 days, and Rebecca Price was ready to quit over it alone. She stood in the small break room on the 14th floor, staring at the ancient machine like it had personally betrayed her. The office building in downtown Chicago hummed with the usual morning chaos, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, associates rushing between conference rooms. Rebecca had been working as a senior marketing strategist at Pemberton for 2 years now, and she genuinely loved her job. The company specialized in luxury hotel development and management, transforming historic buildings into boutique experiences that attracted wealthy travelers from around the world. Her role involved crafting campaigns that highlighted the unique character of each property, and she was damn good at it. But right now, all she wanted was caffeine, still broken. Marcus, one of the junior analysts, appeared beside her with a sympathetic grimace. "Dead as a doornail," Rebecca sighed, pushing her auburn hair back from her face. She was dressed in a navy blazer and cream blouse, professional but comfortable, her green eyes tired from staying up late to finalize the presentation for the Ashford Hotel launch. "I'm going to have to make a coffee run. There's a place 2 blocks down, Giovanni's. They're fast." Rebecca grabbed her wallet and headed out, grateful for the excuse to get some fresh air. October in Chicago meant crisp mornings and golden leaves scattered across the sidewalks. She walked quickly, her heels clicking against the pavement as she mentally rehearsed her talking points for the afternoon meeting. The Ashford was Pemberton's biggest project, yet a historic building on Michigan Avenue that they were converting into a 40-room luxury hotel. If they pulled it off, it would cement their reputation as the premier boutique hotel developer in the Midwest. Giovanni's was packed, the line stretching almost to the door. Rebecca took her place behind a tall man in an expensive charcoal suit, his dark hair slightly tousled as if he'd been running his hands through it. He was on his phone, speaking in low tones about architectural surveys and zoning permits. She tried not to eavesdrop, but his voice was pleasant, deep, and measured, with an edge of frustration that suggested his morning was going about as well as hers. When he finished his call, he turned slightly, and Rebecca caught a glimpse of his profile. Strong jaw, straight nose, the kind of face that belonged on a magazine cover. She looked away quickly, focusing on the menu board instead. The line moved slowly. Rebecca checked her watch. She had 45 minutes before the team meeting. First time here. The man had turned around fully now, and he was looking at her with dark eyes that held a hint of amusement. "Is it that obvious?" Rebecca asked. "You've been studying the menu like it's written in code," he said. "Everything's good, you can't go wrong." "Overwhelming choices are a real problem in modern society," Rebecca replied, and he laughed, a genuine, warm sound that made something flutter in her chest. "Owen Quentin," he said, extending his hand. "Rebecca Price." His handshake was firm, confident. "Do you work around here?" "Close enough." "You?" 2 blocks over, Pemberton Associates. Something flickered across his face, too quick for her to read. "The hotel developers. That's us. You familiar with the industry? You could say that," Owen said, and his tone was carefully neutral. Before Rebecca could ask more, it was his turn to order. He got a black coffee and an espresso, then stepped aside to wait. Rebecca ordered a latte and a coffee for Marcus, a small thank you for the tip about this place. When she collected her drinks, Owen was still standing near the pickup counter, typing something on his phone. He glanced up as she passed. "See you around, Rebecca Price," he said. "Maybe so, Owen Quentin." She walked back to the office with a strange lightness in her step, the encounter playing on repeat in her mind. It was silly they'd barely talked, and yet something about him had felt different. Easy. Natural. The team meeting went well. Rebecca presented her marketing strategy for the Ashford Hotel, emphasizing the property's jazz age history and its potential to attract both leisure travelers and corporate clients looking for something beyond the standard downtown chains. Her boss, Gerald Pemberton, nodded approvingly throughout, his silver hair gleaming under the conference room lights. "Excellent work, Rebecca," he said when she finished. "This campaign positions us perfectly against Quinn Hospitality's new property." Rebecca's stomach did an odd little flip at the mention of Quinn Hospitality. They were Pemberton's biggest competitor, a national chain that had recently announced plans to open their own luxury hotel just 3 blocks from the Ashford. The rivalry between the two companies had intensified over the past year, with both vying for the same historic properties and the same wealthy clientele. "Are we worried about their opening timeline?" Rebecca asked. "They're ahead of us," Gerald admitted. "But we have the better location and the better story. We just need to make sure we get to market first with our messaging." The meeting concluded with assignments and deadlines, and Rebecca dove back into work. The encounter with Owen at the coffee shop faded into the background, a pleasant but inconsequential moment in an otherwise busy day. 3 days later, Rebecca returned to Giovanni's. The office coffee machine was finally fixed, but she developed a taste for their lattes. Plus, some small, hopeful part of her wondered if she might run into Owen again. She did. He was sitting at one of the small tables by the window, laptop open, a half-empty coffee cup beside him. He looked up as she entered, and recognition lit his features immediately. "Rebecca," he said, standing, "back for more overwhelming choices. I'm a creature of habit now, same latte every time." She hesitated, then added, "Are you waiting for someone? Just working? Join me." She should say no. She had a million things to do back at the office. But she found herself ordering her drink and sliding into the chair across from him instead. "So what do you do, Owen?" she asked, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "I'm in hospitality," he said. "Development, mostly. Boring stuff." "I don't think it's boring. I love what I do." "What do you love about it?" The question caught her off guard. Most people didn't ask with such genuine interest. "I love that every property tells a story," Rebecca said. "We're not just building hotels. We're preserving history and giving it new life." There's something really satisfying about that. Owen was watching her intently, his expression unreadable. That's a good way to look at it. They talked for 20 minutes, the conversation flowing easily from work to Chicago neighborhoods to favorite restaurants. Owen was smart and funny, with a dry wit that matched hers perfectly. He asked questions and actually listened to her answers. When Rebecca finally checked her watch and realized she needed to get back, she felt genuinely disappointed. "Can I get your number?" Owen asked as they stood to leave. Rebecca's heart did that fluttery thing again. Yes. They exchanged phones, typing in their information. As Rebecca walked back to Pemberton, she couldn't stop smiling. She was 28 years old and had dated plenty, but nothing had ever felt quite like this, easy and exciting all at once. Owen texted her that evening. "Had a great time talking today. Dinner this weekend." Rebecca stared at the message for exactly 3 seconds before replying, "I'd love that." They went to a small Italian restaurant in Lincoln Park on Saturday night. Owen wore dark jeans and a navy sweater that brought out the warmth in his brown eyes. Rebecca had changed outfits 3 times before settling on a burgundy dress that her roommate swore made her look stunning. The restaurant was intimate, candlelit, with red checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic bread filling the air. They ordered wine and pasta, and the conversation picked up exactly where it had left off at the coffee shop. "Tell me about growing up," Owen said. "Are you from Chicago?" "Wisconsin originally. Small town outside Milwaukee. My dad was a teacher, my mom was a nurse. Very normal, very Midwestern. Rebecca twirled pasta around her fork. I came to Chicago for college and never left. The city just felt right, you know. I do, Owen said. I'm from here originally. Born and raised on the North Shore. Fancy, Rebecca teased. The North Shore was where old money lived in sprawling estates overlooking Lake Michigan. My parents had expectations, Owen said, and something in his tone suggested complicated family dynamics. I was supposed to go into finance, follow in my father's footsteps, but I wanted to build things, create something tangible. Did they support that, eventually, after some very tense family dinners? He poured more wine into both their glasses. What about you? Supportive family? Very. Almost obnoxiously so. My mom still sends me care packages with homemade cookies and articles about eligible bachelors in Wisconsin. Rebecca laughed. She wants grandchildren yesterday. Sounds nice, actually. My family isn't great at the warm and fuzzy stuff. They lingered over dessert, sharing a slice of tiramisu, and Rebecca found herself studying Owen's hands, strong, capable, with a thin scar across his right knuckle. How'd you get that? She asked, nodding at the scar. Woodworking accident when I was 16. I was building a bookshelf and got cocky with the saw. You still do woodworking? When I have time, which isn't often. There's something meditative about it, though. Working with your hands, creating something from raw materials. He met her eyes. Probably sounds strange coming from a guy who spends most of his time in meetings. It doesn't sound strange at all. When Owen walked her to her apartment building in Lakeview, the city lights reflected in the windows of the surrounding buildings. Rebecca didn't want the night to end. They stood on the sidewalk, the October air cool but not cold, and she knew he was going to kiss her. When he did, it was perfect, gentle but sure, his hand cupping her cheek as his lips met hers. "Can I see you again?" he murmured when they pulled apart. "Absolutely." Over the next few weeks, Rebecca and Owen fell into an easy rhythm. Coffee dates before work, dinners after, long phone conversations late at night when they couldn't see each other. Rebecca felt like she was glowing from the inside out, her coworkers commenting on her perpetual good mood. Even Gerald noticed, mentioning during a project meeting that whatever she was doing outside of work, she should keep doing it because her creativity was at an all-time high. The Ashford Hotel campaign was moving forward beautifully. Rebecca had secured partnerships with local historical societies and jazz clubs, creating a narrative around the building's 1920s origins. The press was eating it up, and preliminary interest from potential guests was exceeding projections. Owen was busy too, though he was vague about the specifics. Rebecca knew he traveled frequently for work, quick trips to New York, Los Angeles, Miami. He always texted her from airports and hotel rooms, and they talked whenever his schedule allowed. She wished she knew more about his work, but she also understood that some people were private about professional matters, especially in competitive industries. One evening in mid-November, Rebecca was working late at the office, finalizing media placement for the Ashford's grand opening announcement. The office was mostly empty, just her and a few other dedicated souls burning the midnight oil. She was deep into analyzing demographic data when her phone rang. Owen's name lit up the screen. "Hey," she answered, unable to keep the smile out of her voice. "I thought you were in a meeting. Just finished. I'm standing outside your building, actually." "I know you're working late, but I brought food." Rebecca's heart melted. "I'll be right down." He was waiting in the lobby, looking unfairly handsome in a charcoal suit with his tie loosened. He held up a bag from her favorite Thai restaurant. "You're a lifesaver," Rebecca said, kissing him quickly. "Want to come up? The office is dead right now." They took the elevator to the 14th floor, and Rebecca led him to the small conference room overlooking the Chicago skyline. She cleared space on the table, and they unpacked spring rolls, pad thai, and curry. "So what crisis kept you here until 9 o'clock?" Owen asked, passing her chopsticks. "Not a crisis, thankfully. Just finalizing the media strategy for our big announcement next week." Rebecca took a bite of spring roll, savoring the crunch. "We're going public with the Ashford Hotel launch." Owen's expression shifted subtly. "That's the Michigan Avenue property, right? The very one. It's been my baby for months now. I'm so proud of what we're doing with it." She launched into an explanation of the campaign, her enthusiasm bubbling over as she described the historical angle, the partnership opportunities, the target demographics. Owen listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment, his jaw tight. "What is it?" Rebecca asked. "Did I bore you with too many marketing details?" "No, never, He set down his chopsticks. "Rebecca, there's something I need to tell you." The serious tone made her stomach clench. "Okay. I haven't been entirely honest about what I do." Rebecca's mind immediately went to worst-case scenarios. Was he unemployed, in debt, involved in something illegal? "I don't just work in hospitality development," Owen continued, his dark eyes locked on hers. "I own Quinn Hospitality." The words hung in the air between them. Rebecca blinked, processing. Quinn Hospitality, the rival company, the competitor they'd been positioning against for months, the national chain with deeper pockets and more resources than Pemberton could ever hope to match. "You're the Quinn," Rebecca managed. "As in, the billionaire hotel magnate Quinn?" "Yes." She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You've been lying to me this whole time." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing, Owen." Her voice was rising, and she forced herself to take a breath. "We've been seeing each other for weeks. We've talked about everything, our families, our dreams, our lives, and you never thought to mention that you're a billionaire who owns the company directly competing with mine." "I wanted to tell you," Owen said, standing too. "But at first, I didn't know where you worked, and then when I found out, I was already falling for you, and I knew it would complicate everything." "You're damn right it complicates everything." Rebecca was pacing now, her mind racing. "Do you have any idea how this looks? I've been sharing details about our marketing strategies, our timelines, our positioning. You could use all of that against us." "I would never do that. Rebecca, you have to know I would never do that. How am I supposed to know what you would or wouldn't do?" "I apparently don't know you at all." She pressed her hands to her temples. "God, this is such a mess. Gerald is going to think I've been feeding you information. My entire career could be over." "Nobody has to know we're seeing each other," Owen said carefully. "That's your solution." "Keep sneaking around." Rebecca laughed bitterly. "I can't be with someone I have to hide, and I definitely can't be with someone who works for the company trying to destroy everything I've been building. Quinn Hospitality isn't trying to destroy Pemberton. We're just doing our job, same as you. Your job is to crush smaller competitors and dominate the market. Don't pretend it's anything else." Owen's expression hardened. "That's not fair. I've built my company from the ground up. I'm not some corporate villain." "Maybe not. But you're definitely my competitor, and you should have told me that from the beginning." Rebecca grabbed her phone and her bag. "I need you to leave." "Rebecca, please leave, Owen. I need to think." He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her face must have convinced him it was pointless. He gathered the Thai food containers slowly, clearly buying time for her to change her mind. When she didn't, he walked to the door. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "my feelings for you are real. Everything between us has been real." Rebecca didn't respond. She couldn't. When he was gone, she sank into her chair and dropped her head into her hands. The conference room suddenly felt cavernous and cold. She'd been falling for Owen, really falling in a way she hadn't experienced before. And now the whole thing was poisoned by secrets and corporate rivalry. Her phone buzzed. A text from Owen. "I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner, but please believe me when I say I never used anything you shared." "I never would." Rebecca turned off her phone and tried to focus on work, but it was impossible. Every thought circled back to Owen, his laugh, his kiss, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious. And then the cold shock of learning who he really was. She went home an hour later, her mind still spinning. Her roommate Sarah took one look at her face and poured 2 glasses of wine without asking. "What happened?" Sarah demanded, settling onto the couch beside her. Rebecca told her everything. Sarah listened without interrupting, her blue eyes growing wider with each revelation. "So the guy you've been gushing about for weeks is actually Owen Quinn." "The Owen Quinn, apparently. Holy hell, that's like dating royalty." Sarah caught Rebecca's glare and amended. "Royalty who should have been honest with you from day one." "Yeah, that's really messed up." "I don't know what to do," Rebecca admitted. "Part of me understands why he didn't say anything at first. But once he knew where I worked, he should have told me immediately." "Are you worried he was using you for information?" "I don't think so. I mean, I didn't tell him anything he couldn't have found out through basic research. But Gerald will never believe that. If this comes out, I'm done at Pemberton. So don't let it come out. You think I should keep seeing him in secret?" "I think you should figure out what you want first," Sarah said. "Do you care about him?" "Yes," Rebecca whispered, "which makes this so much worse." She didn't hear from Owen the next day. She told herself she was relieved, but mostly she just felt hollow. Work was a welcome distraction. The Ashford announcement was happening in 72 hours, and there were a million last-minute details to coordinate. On the night before the big press conference, Rebecca was in her apartment reviewing her notes when her phone rang. Owen's name appeared, and after a long moment she answered. "Hi," he said, and the sound of his voice made her chest ache. "Hi. I wanted to call sooner, but I thought you needed space." He paused. "Rebecca, I know I hurt you by not being upfront. I'm sorrier than I can express. But I need you to know that my feelings for you have nothing to do with business. When I'm with you, I'm not thinking about hotels or market share or any of it. I'm just thinking about you." Rebecca closed her eyes. "That doesn't change the fact that we're on opposite sides of a corporate battle." "Does it have to be a battle? Can't both companies succeed?" "Not when we're targeting the same guests in the same neighborhood with similar products. This is zero-sum, Owen. I don't believe that, and I don't want to lose you over something that doesn't have to matter." "It does matter. My career matters. My integrity matters." "I'm not asking you to compromise either of those things." His voice was intense, almost desperate. "I'm asking you to give us a chance. Let me prove to you that we can make this work." Rebecca wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to so badly, but the risk felt enormous. "I need more time," she said finally. "Okay, take all the time you need, I'll be here." The Ashford Hotel press conference was a triumph. Rebecca stood in the building's gorgeous marble lobby, its Art Deco details gleaming after months of restoration, and watched journalists photograph every angle. Gerald gave a speech about preserving Chicago's architectural heritage while providing world-class hospitality. Rebecca's carefully crafted messaging was everywhere in the press kits, on the display boards, in the talking points every Pemberton employee had memorized. Local news covered it. Travel bloggers posted about it. By afternoon, they had inquiries from 3 national magazines about features on the property. Rebecca should have been elated. Instead, she felt oddly empty. That evening she walked along the riverwalk, watching the city lights shimmer on the water. Her phone buzzed constantly with congratulatory messages from colleagues, but she ignored them all. She kept thinking about what Owen had said, that both companies could succeed, that it didn't have to be a battle. Was that naive? Or was she being too cynical? Her phone rang. This time it was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello, Rebecca Price." A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "Yes. This is Amanda Chen from Chicago Business Journal. I'm working on a story about the luxury hotel boom in downtown Chicago. I was hoping to get your perspective." Rebecca's media training kicked in automatically. "I'd be happy to help. What would you like to know?" Specifically, "I'm interested in the rivalry between Pemberton and Quinn Hospitality. Both companies have properties opening within blocks of each other. Would you characterize the competition as friendly or fierce?" "I'd say healthy," Rebecca replied carefully. "Competition drives innovation and quality, which ultimately benefits travelers." "Interesting. And have you had any direct interaction with Quinn Hospitality's team?" The question felt pointed. "Why do you ask?" "I've heard rumors about possible collaboration between the companies. Any truth to that?" "Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not privy to every executive-level conversation." They talked for a few more minutes, Rebecca deflecting the more aggressive questions with practiced ease. When the call ended, she felt unsettled. Rumors about collaboration. Where had that come from? She called Owen without thinking. He answered on the first ring. "Rebecca, did you talk to Chicago Business Journal about partnering with Pemberton?" "No. Why?" She explained the strange phone call. Owen was quiet for a long moment. "I haven't said anything to anyone," he said finally, "but I did have an idea. I was going to talk to you about it first, but maybe this is the right time." "What idea?" "What if our hotels did collaborate instead of compete? The Ashford and the Monroe, that's our property, are targeting slightly different demographics. The Ashford is going for the historic charm angle, and the Monroe is more modern luxury. What if we marketed them as complementary experiences? Guests at one could get preferred rates at the other. We could do joint packages with Chicago attractions." Rebecca's mind was already running with the possibilities. That could actually work, but Gerald would never go for it. He sees Quinn Hospitality as the enemy. "And my board thinks Pemberton is just a minor player we'll crush through sheer resources." Owen's voice was dry. "But what if we showed them both a better way?" "You're serious about this?" "Completely serious. Rebecca, I don't want to spend my energy fighting you. I want to spend it building something together." The double meaning wasn't lost on her. "This is crazy." "Probably, but what do we have to lose?" "Everything," Rebecca thought. "And yet, let me think about it," she said. "I need to figure out how to pitch this to Gerald without revealing that we've been seeing each other." "Whatever you need, I'll follow your lead." They talked for another hour, sketching out rough ideas for how a partnership might work. By the time they hung up, Rebecca's exhaustion had been replaced by excitement. Maybe Owen was right. Maybe there was a way forward that didn't involve choosing between her career and her heart. The next morning, Rebecca requested a meeting with Gerald. His assistant squeezed her in just before lunch. "Rebecca," Gerald said, gesturing for her to sit in one of the leather chairs across from his massive desk. "Congratulations again on yesterday. The press coverage has been phenomenal." "Thank you. Actually, that's related to why I wanted to talk to you." Rebecca took a breath. "I've been thinking about Quinn Hospitality." Gerald's expression immediately became guarded. "What about them? What if instead of treating them as the enemy, we explored a strategic partnership?" "Absolutely not." "Just hear me out," Rebecca pressed. "Their property and ours appeal to different segments. We could do joint marketing, package deals, cross-promotion. It would expand both our reaches without either of us compromising our brand identity. Gerald leaned back in his chair, studying her. Where is this coming from? From looking at the data. We're spending enormous resources trying to undercut each other, but the market is big enough for both of us. Why not work together? Because Owen Quinn is a shark. He'd use any partnership to gather intelligence and then crush us. You know that for a fact, or is that an assumption? Rebecca, I appreciate your creativity, but this is a non-starter. Quinn Hospitality is the competition, period. She'd expected resistance, but Gerald's flat refusal still stung. Can I at least put together a proposal, show you what it might look like financially? You can, but it won't change my mind. Gerald's tone was final. Focus your energy on ensuring the Ashford opening goes perfectly. That's how we beat Quinn, by being better, not by holding their hand. Rebecca left his office frustrated but not defeated. She texted Owen. Gerald said no, but I'm not giving up. His response was immediate, neither am I. Over the next 2 weeks, Rebecca and Owen continued to see each other, though they were careful about it. They met at restaurants in neighborhoods far from downtown, went to movies in the suburbs, spent quiet evenings at Owen's penthouse apartment in a building Rebecca had only ever seen from the outside. The penthouse was stunning floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, minimalist furniture in shades of gray and white, original art on the walls. But what caught Rebecca's attention was the workshop Owen had set up in a spare bedroom. Woodworking tools were neatly organized along one wall, and a half-finished table stood in the center. "You really do this," she said, running her hand along the smooth wood. "It's my therapy." Owen picked up a piece of sandpaper and demonstrated the motion. "When work gets overwhelming, I come in here and make sawdust. It's beautiful work." "I'll make you something," he said. "What would you like? Surprise me." They made dinner together, an easy collaboration of chopping vegetables and stirring sauce. Owen poured wine and they ate on the balcony despite the November chill, wrapped in blankets and watching the lights of the city spread out below them. "I've been working on a proposal," Rebecca said, "for the partnership. Even if Gerald won't listen, I want to have something concrete to show him." "I have my team pulling together financials," Owen added. "If we can prove this makes business sense, it's harder to dismiss as just an idealistic fantasy." "Your board still doesn't know about me, do they?" "No. And yours doesn't know about me." "God, no. Sarah thinks we're insane, by the way." Owen laughed. "We probably are." Rebecca set down her wine glass. "Can I ask you something? Anything?" "Why did you really hide who you were at the beginning?" Owen was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "Honestly, I'm tired of people treating me like Owen Quinn, billionaire CEO. I wanted someone to see just Owen. And that first day at the coffee shop, you did. You talked to me like I was a normal person, and it felt incredible. You are a normal person. You just happen to have a lot of money and own a hotel empire. That's not how most people see it. Especially women I try to date. They're either intimidated or only interested because of the money." "I'm definitely intimidated," Rebecca admitted, "but not because of your net worth. Because you're brilliant and driven and you've built something extraordinary." Owen reached across the table and took her hand. "You're extraordinary. The work you do, the way you think about storytelling and brand identity, you're operating at a level most people never reach, sweet talker. Truth teller." He stood, pulling her up with him. "Dance with me." "There's no music." "Sure there is." He pulled out his phone and tapped a few times. Soft jazz filled the air, a classic Chet Baker song. Owen drew her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers. They swayed together on the balcony, the city sparkling around them. Rebecca rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. This moment felt stolen, precious like something that couldn't possibly last in the harsh light of reality. "I'm falling in love with you," Owen murmured against her hair. Rebecca's breath caught. "Owen, you don't have to say it back, I just needed you to know." But she did want to say it back. The words were right there, pushing against her lips. "I'm falling for you too," she whispered. "It terrifies me, but I am." He kissed her then, deep and slow, and the November cold disappeared entirely. The Ashford Hotel officially opened its doors on December 1st. Rebecca was there from dawn until well past midnight, overseeing every detail, managing crises large and small. A shipment of linens arrived late. A journalist from Travel plus Leisure needed an impromptu tour. The chef for the hotel restaurant had a meltdown about the placement of his prep stations. Through it all, Rebecca kept her phone close, checking for texts from Owen. He was in New York for his own hotel opening, but they'd been messaging throughout the day. "How's it going?" He wrote during a rare quiet moment. "Chaotic but good. Your opening?" "Same. Wish you were here." "Wish you were here too." 2 more weeks and Monroe opens. "Then we're both in Chicago and I can actually see you more than once every 3 days." Rebecca smiled at her phone, then quickly tucked it away as Gerald approached. "Rebecca, the mayor just arrived. Come say hello." The evening culminated in a cocktail reception for VIPs and press. Rebecca worked the room in a black cocktail dress, making connections, answering questions, watching her months of hard work come to fruition. The Ashford was perfect, elegant, and warm, with live jazz in the lounge and signature cocktails that nodded to Prohibition-era recipes. She was talking to a writer from Condé Nast Traveler when she felt someone watching her. She turned, scanning the room, and her heart stopped. Owen was there. He was partially hidden behind a group of guests, but their eyes met across the crowded lobby. He was in a tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a classic Hollywood film, and the expression on his face was pure longing. What was he doing here? Rebecca excused herself and made her way toward him, weaving through clusters of guests. Before she could reach him, Gerald intercepted her. "There you are. I want you to meet someone." Gerald was practically glowing with excitement. "This is Owen Quinn." Rebecca's stomach dropped. "Mr. Quinn, this is Rebecca Price, our senior marketing strategist. She's the genius behind the Ashford campaign." Owen extended his hand, his expression carefully neutral. "Miss Price, pleasure to meet you." Rebecca shook his hand, feeling the familiar warmth of his palm against hers. "Mr. Quinn." "I was just telling Mr. Quinn that we're thrilled to have him here," Gerald continued, oblivious to the undercurrents. "It's quite an honor, actually." "I wanted to see what all the buzz was about," Owen said smoothly. "You've done impressive work here." "Thank you," Gerald preened. "We pride ourselves on authenticity and attention to detail." "It shows." Owen's eyes flicked to Rebecca. "Your marketing has been particularly effective. The storytelling around the building's history is compelling." "Miss Price is the best in the business," Gerald said. "We're lucky to have her." This was agony. Standing here pretending they were strangers while everything Rebecca wanted to say pressed against her chest like a weight. "Well, I should let you get back to your guests," Owen said. "Congratulations again on a beautiful property." He left soon after, and Rebecca spent the rest of the evening in a haze. Why had he come? Was it to support her, or was it reconnaissance for his own opening? She didn't have to wonder long. Her phone buzzed at midnight, just as the last guests were trickling out. "I'm sorry for showing up unannounced. I just wanted to see your triumph in person. You were magnificent." Rebecca slipped into the coachroom and called him. "That was dangerous," she said when he answered. "I know. I couldn't help myself. Rebecca, seeing what you created tonight, it's art." "Gerald was so proud to show you around, like he was rubbing our success in your face." "He has every right to be proud. You've both built something special." Owen paused. "It makes me even more certain that we should be working together, not against each other. The Monroe opens in 2 weeks. Are you ready as we can be? Will you come?" "Owen, I know it's asking a lot, but I want you there. I need you there." Rebecca leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. "I'll figure something out." The Monroe Hotel's opening was just as spectacular as the Ashfords'. Rebecca attended as a member of the public, buying a ticket to the opening night gala and blending into the crowd. The property was stunning, sleek and modern, where the Ashford was historic and ornate, with a rooftop bar that offered panoramic views of Chicago. She spotted Owen immediately. He was holding court with a group of investors and city officials, exuding confidence and charm. He looked every inch the billionaire CEO, and Rebecca felt a flutter of nerves. This was his world: power and wealth and influence. Could she really belong in it? As if sensing her presence, Owen looked up and their eyes met. He excused himself from his group and walked toward her, and Rebecca's nervousness evaporated. It didn't matter how much money he had or what world he inhabited. This was still Owen, the man who made her coffee in the morning and listened to her talk about marketing strategies for hours, and was teaching himself Italian on a language app because she'd mentioned wanting to visit Rome. "You came," he said, his voice low. "I told you I would. Come with me. I want to show you something." He led her away from the crowds, through a service door and up a flight of stairs. They emerged onto a private terrace smaller than the main rooftop bar but more intimate, with twinkling lights strung overhead and heat lamps keeping the December chill at bay. "This is beautiful," Rebecca breathed. "It's my favorite spot in the building. I come here when I need to think." Owen moved closer, his hands finding her waist. "I've been thinking about you constantly." "Me too. I have something for you." He pulled a small wrapped box from his pocket. Rebecca's heart raced as she unwrapped it. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny building that she recognized as the Monadnock Building, one of Chicago's most famous historic structures. "Owen, this is. I wanted you to have something that represents what you do. Creating history, preserving stories." He took the bracelet and fastened it around her wrist. "You're incredible at it." Rebecca kissed him, pouring all her tangled emotions into it. "Thank you." They stayed on the terrace for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the city lights blur through the windows below. For a moment, nothing else mattered, not their competing companies, not the secrets they were keeping, but reality intruded as it always did. The next morning, Rebecca arrived at the office to find Gerald in a fury. "Did you see the Tribune this morning?" he demanded, waving the business section. Rebecca's stomach sank. "No, what happened?" "Quinn gave an interview. He's talking about how the Monroe represents the future of Chicago hospitality, and properties like the Ashford are stuck in the past." "He said that?" Rebecca couldn't believe it. Owen wouldn't, but there it was in black and white. A quote from Owen Quentin dismissing historic preservation as nostalgia-driven marketing that doesn't resonate with modern travelers. Rebecca read the article twice, her hands shaking. This had to be taken out of context. It had to be. She texted Owen. "What the hell is this Tribune article?" His response came an hour later. "I didn't say it like that. They twisted my words. I was talking about general industry trends, not the Ashford specifically." "It doesn't matter what you meant. This is how it reads." "Let me fix this. I'll call the reporter, issue a clarification." "Don't bother. The damage is done." Rebecca threw herself into damage control, crafting responses for Pemberton's social media channels that emphasized their commitment to preserving Chicago's architectural heritage. The backlash against Quinn hospitality from history buffs and preservation groups was swift and harsh. Owen's clarification, when it came, felt weak and corporate, By the end of the day, Rebecca was exhausted and hurt. She ignored 3 calls from Owen, finally texting, "I need space." But that night, unable to sleep, she found herself rereading the full article. And she saw what Owen meant. The quote was taken from a larger discussion about hotel industry trends, and the reporter had cherry-picked the most inflammatory part. It was still careless of Owen to say it in a way that could be misinterpreted, but she could see his point. He wasn't attacking the Ashford. He was defending his own approach. She called him at 2 in the morning. "Rebecca," he answered immediately, voice rough with sleep or worry or both. "I read the whole article. I'm so sorry. I should have been more careful with my words." "Yes, you should have. But I also overreacted. Gerald has me so on edge about Quinn Hospitality that I immediately assumed the worst." "This is exactly why we need to find a way forward," Owen said. "I'm tired of feeling like we're on opposite sides." "Me too." Rebecca pulled her blanket tighter around her shoulders. "I've been working on the partnership proposal. It's almost ready. My team finished the financial projections. Rebecca, the numbers are strong. If we combine marketing efforts and do coordinated bookings, we could increase occupancy at both properties by at least 15%. Really, really. This isn't just a romantic fantasy. It's good business." They talked until dawn, refining ideas and building a case that even the most skeptical executive couldn't dismiss. By the time Rebecca hung up, she felt renewed determination. They could make this work. They had to. 2 days later, Rebecca requested another meeting with Gerald. This time, she came armed with a full presentation, slides, financial projections, case studies of successful hotel partnerships in other markets. Gerald listened, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "This is well researched," he finally said. "It's more than that. It's our path forward. Gerald, we're spending so much energy fighting Quinn Hospitality when we could be channeling that energy into growing both businesses." "And you think Owen Quinn would actually agree to this?" Rebecca's heart raced. This was the moment. "I think if we approached him professionally with a solid business case, he'd consider it." "How do you know?" "I don't. But what do we have to lose by trying?" Gerald stood and walked to his window, looking out over the Chicago skyline. "You really believe in this?" "I do." He turned back to her. "All right, set up a meeting, but I'm not promising anything." Rebecca could barely contain her excitement. "Thank you, you won't regret this." She texted Owen the moment she left Gerald's office. He agreed to a meeting. "When?" "I'll coordinate with your assistant." "Owen, this is really happening. Thanks to you. I'm so proud of you." The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday at a neutral location, a private room at the Chicago Athletic Association. Rebecca spent the weekend preparing, running through every possible objection and counter-argument. Owen called her Sunday night. "How are you feeling about Tuesday?" "Terrified, excited, both. They're going to see what we see, I'm sure of it. And if they don't, then we figure out Plan B." Rebecca took a shaky breath. "I don't know what Plan B looks like. If this doesn't work, I think we have to accept that we can't be together. Not while we're actively competing." The silence on the other end was heavy. "I don't accept that." "Owen, no, listen to me. I'm falling deeper in love with you every day. I'm not giving up on us because our bosses can't see past old rivalries. If this meeting doesn't work out, then we find another way." "What other way is there?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out." His voice was fierce, determined. "Rebecca, you're not just some woman I'm dating. You're the person I want to build a life with." Tears pricked her eyes. "You mean that?" "Every word." Tuesday arrived cold and gray, with snow threatening but not yet falling. Rebecca dressed carefully in a charcoal suit, her silver bracelet from Owen hidden beneath her sleeve. She arrived at the Chicago Athletic Association early, double-checking that the private room was set up correctly, that the presentation materials were perfect. Owen arrived precisely on time, accompanied by 2 members of his executive team. He was in full CEO mode, expensive suit, confident stride, professional smile. But when his eyes met Rebecca's, she saw the warmth there, the love he couldn't quite hide. Gerald came with the Pemberton CFO and lead attorney. The 2 groups sized each other up like opposing armies before a battle. "Gentlemen," Owen said, extending his hand, "thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Gerald shook it, his grip firm. "Mr. Quinn, I have to admit I was surprised when Rebecca proposed this. She's persuasive and smart." Owen's glance at Rebecca was brief but significant. "Shall we sit?" For the next 2 hours, Rebecca and Owen presented their case. They took turns speaking, their coordination seamless from all the hours they'd spent preparing together. They showed how combined marketing would reach broader demographics, how package deals would appeal to business travelers who needed both traditional and modern amenities, how collaboration would actually strengthen both brands rather than diluting them. The financial projections were compelling. The case studies were relevant. The strategic vision was clear. When they finished, Gerald and Owen's COO asked sharp questions. Rebecca and Owen fielded them smoothly, occasionally building on each other's answers. Finally, Gerald sat back in his chair. "I'll be honest. I came here expecting to say no." Rebecca's heart sank. "But this is more sophisticated than I anticipated. You've clearly put significant thought into how this would work operationally." He looked at Owen. "I'm still skeptical. Your company has a reputation for aggressive expansion." "We do expand aggressively," Owen acknowledged. "But we don't succeed by destroying good local operators. We succeed by being excellent at what we do, and sometimes excellence means partnership." "This would need to be structured very carefully," the Pemberton attorney interjected. "Clear boundaries, transparent communication, protections for both parties." "Agreed," Owen's attorney said. "We'd want this in writing, every detail spelled out." "So we're seriously considering this?" Gerald asked, looking around the table. "I think we'd be foolish not to," his CFO said quietly. "The projected revenue increase is significant, and frankly, the positive PR from 2 competitors choosing collaboration over conflict would be substantial." The meeting concluded with an agreement to move forward with negotiations. Lawyers would draft a preliminary partnership agreement. Both companies would run the financials past their boards. Rebecca felt like she was floating after the executives left. Owen pulled her into an empty hallway. "We did it," he said, his smile brilliant. "We actually did it." Rebecca laughed, the sound giddy with relief. "I can't believe they went for it. Gerald kept looking at you during the presentation, like he was seeing you differently. He told me afterward that I'd impressed him, that this showed real strategic thinking beyond marketing." Owen cupped her face in his hands. "You're amazing, truly amazing. We made a good team in there. We make a good team everywhere." He kissed her softly. "So does this mean we can stop sneaking around? Let's get through the negotiations first. But yes, I think soon we can be public about this." "Good. Because hiding you has been the hardest thing I've ever done." Over the next month, lawyers from both companies hammered out the details of the partnership agreement. There were tense moments, disagreements over revenue sharing, debates about branding guidelines, concerns about competitive intelligence. But slowly, steadily, a framework emerged. Rebecca and Owen continued to see each other, though they remained discreet. They spent Christmas together at Owen's penthouse, cooking dinner and watching snow fall over Lake Michigan. Owen gave her a first edition of a book about Chicago architecture. Rebecca gave him a new set of woodworking chisels she'd had custom engraved. "I've been working on your surprise," he said, leading her to his workshop after dinner. Under a cloth was the most beautiful desk Rebecca had ever seen, walnut wood with elegant lines and drawers that slid open with perfect precision. "Owen, this is incredible. For your apartment. So you have a proper workspace." Rebecca ran her hands over the smooth surface, overwhelmed. "This must have taken you months. Worth every minute." On New Year's Eve, the partnership agreement was finalized. Both boards approved it. Press releases went out announcing the unprecedented collaboration between Pemberton and Associates and Quinn Hospitality. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Industry analysts praised the innovative approach. Travel writers speculated about what this might mean for the broader hospitality sector. Bookings at both the Ashford and the Monroe increased immediately. Gerald called Rebecca into his office the day after the announcement. "You were right," he said simply. "This was the smart play. Thank you for being willing to listen. I owe you more than that. Your strategic vision on this was remarkable, which is why I'm promoting you to Vice President of Marketing and Strategy, effective immediately." Rebecca's jaw dropped. "Gerald, I thank you. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep bringing me ideas that make us better." He paused. "There's something else. I've been hearing rumors that you and Owen Quinn have been seeing each other personally." Rebecca's heart stopped. "Sir, I'm not angry. Actually, it explains some things. The ease of communication during negotiations, the way you two worked together during the presentation." Gerald smiled slightly. "I'm happy for you, Rebecca. Owen Quinn is a formidable businessman, but he seems like a decent man. And the way he looked at you during those meetings, well, that's not just professional respect. We were planning to be public about it after the partnership was established. We didn't want anyone to think we'd compromised our companies. I appreciate that discretion, but you can stop hiding now." Rebecca left his office feeling lighter than she had in months. She called Owen immediately. "Gerald knows," she said, "and he's okay with it. More than okay, actually." "That's amazing. Rebecca, I have something to tell you too. I talked to my board this morning. They want to explore more partnerships like this in other markets. They're talking about making it a core part of our growth strategy." "Really? And they want you to consult on it, officially?" "We'd pay Pemberton for your time, but you'd help us identify potential partner companies and structure the deals." Rebecca's mind was already racing with possibilities. "That would be incredible. So we'd be working together, officially. Looks like it. Good. Because I have other plans for working with you that are decidedly unofficial." Rebecca laughed. "Oh, really, really? Starting with dinner tonight at my place, I'm cooking." "You're cooking? This I have to see." That evening, Rebecca arrived at Owen's penthouse to find candles lit throughout the apartment and something delicious smelling coming from the kitchen. Owen met her at the door, pulling her into a long kiss. "Hi," he murmured against her lips. "Hi yourself. Something smells good. Coq au vin. My grandmother's recipe." They ate dinner together, talking and laughing with an ease that came from not having to hide anymore. After dessert, a chocolate cake from Rebecca's favorite bakery, Owen took her hand and led her to the balcony. Chicago sprawled beneath them, millions of lights twinkling in the January darkness. The cold air bit at Rebecca's cheeks, but Owen's arms around her kept her warm. "I've been thinking about the future," Owen said. "Our future." Rebecca's pulse quickened. "What about it? I want you in it." "Permanently. I want to wake up next to you every morning and come home to you every night. I want to build things together both professionally and personally. I want everything with you, Rebecca." He pulled back slightly, reaching into his pocket. When he opened the small box, a diamond ring caught the candlelight, simple and elegant, exactly Rebecca's style. "Marry me," Owen said. "Not because it makes business sense or because our companies are partnering. Marry me because I love you more than I thought I could love anyone. Because you challenge me and inspire me and make me laugh. Because life is better when you're in it." Tears were streaming down Rebecca's face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course, yes." Owen slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her deeply. Below them, the city seemed to glow brighter, as if celebrating with them. The wedding took place 6 months later in a historic mansion in Lake Forest. It was intimate, just family and close friends, exactly what they both wanted. Rebecca wore a simple silk gown, her auburn hair swept up, the silver bracelet Owen had given her at the Monroe opening gleaming on her wrist. Her parents were there, her mother crying happy tears throughout the ceremony. Owen's parents were more reserved but genuinely warm, his mother telling Rebecca privately that she'd never seen her son so happy. Sarah was maid of honor, of course, and she gave a toast that was equal parts funny and touching, talking about how Rebecca had described Owen after their first meeting at the coffee shop. She said he seemed nice, Sarah told the gathered guests. Just nice. The understatement of the century. Gerald attended, along with several Pemberton colleagues. The Quinn hospitality executive team was there too. The wedding represented more than just two people committing to each other. It symbolized the partnership between their companies, the new era of collaboration they'd ushered in. Owen's vows made Rebecca cry. He talked about finding her in a coffee shop, not knowing she would change his life. He promised to always be honest, to support her dreams, to make her laugh even when things got hard. Rebecca promised to build a life with him full of love and laughter, to be his partner in all things, to always remember that they were stronger together than apart. They honeymooned in Italy, spending 2 weeks wandering through Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. They toured historic hotels and took notes for future projects. They ate too much pasta and drank too much wine and made love in rooms overlooking ancient architecture. "We should do a property here," Rebecca said one evening, sitting on a terrace in Positano as the sun set over the Mediterranean. "Already thinking about work," Owen teased. "I can't help it. This place is magical. Imagine creating something here together." "I love that you said together. That's what we are now, a team." When they returned to Chicago, they moved into a renovated brownstone in Lincoln Park, bigger than Owen's penthouse, but still cozy, with enough space for his woodworking workshop and her home office. They adopted a rescue dog, a goofy golden retriever they named Hemingway. The partnership between Pemberton and Quinn Hospitality continued to thrive. They opened joint properties in 3 more cities over the next 2 years, each one a combination of Rebecca's storytelling genius and Owen's operational excellence. The industry took notice, and soon other hotel companies were exploring similar collaborations. Rebecca's career flourished. She became a sought-after speaker at hospitality conferences and a consultant for companies looking to build authentic brands. She never left Pemberton, but her role expanded far beyond what she'd imagined possible. Owen scaled back his travel, delegating more to his executive team so he could spend more time at home. He taught Rebecca woodworking in the evenings, and together they built a bookshelf for the living room and a cradle for the nursery. Rebecca was 5 months pregnant when they hosted a dinner party for both sets of parents. Her mother fussed over her, bringing casseroles and baby clothes. Owen's parents had softened considerably, his father admitting over brandy that he'd been wrong about Owen going into hospitality instead of finance. "You built something meaningful," Owen's father said, "and you found someone who makes you happy. That's what matters." Their daughter arrived on a snowy March evening, tiny and perfect with a shock of dark hair like Owen's. They named her Charlotte, and she immediately wrapped both her parents around her little finger. Owen was a natural father, patient and gentle and completely besotted. Rebecca would find him in the nursery at 3 in the morning, rocking Charlotte and singing off-key lullabies. Her heart felt so full it might burst. They took Charlotte to the Ashford Hotel on her first birthday, the property that had inadvertently brought them together. The hotel had become iconic in Chicago, its jazz-age charm attracting visitors from around the world. Rebecca and Owen stood in the lobby with Charlotte between them, watching guests check in and out. "Remember when we were on opposite sides?" Rebecca said. "Hard to imagine now." "I'm glad you came to the coffee shop that morning." Owen kissed her temple. "Best coffee run of my life." Charlotte tugged on Rebecca's hand, babbling something incomprehensible but enthusiastic. They scooped her up together, this little person who was the perfect blend of both of them, and walked out into the Chicago sunshine. The city where they'd met, where they'd fought and fallen in love, where they'd built something beautiful together. It was home. Not just because of the buildings or the work, but because of each other. Rebecca looked at Owen, at Charlotte, at the life they'd created, and knew with absolute certainty that every risk had been worth it. Every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt, every compromise, all of it had led them here, to love, to partnership, to family, to everything they'd ever wanted and more. Years later, when Charlotte was old enough to ask how her parents met, Rebecca would tell her about the broken coffee machine and the crowded cafe and the tall man in the expensive suit. She'd tell her about competing companies and secret dates and a partnership that changed everything. But mostly, she'd tell her about love, the kind that's worth fighting for, worth building carefully like one of Owen's handmade pieces of furniture, worth choosing every single day. And Charlotte, like any child hearing her parents' love story, would roll her eyes and pretend to be bored while secretly thinking it was the most romantic thing she'd ever heard. Because it was.